Okay. This is Oliver Art Center's 20 questions. My name is Mercedes Michalowski, and I'm the executive director. And we're jumping right into question number 1. Will you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sally Manke. I'm a retired public school teacher, art home ec, and I am now a fiber artist, pattern designer. I teach nationally for art quilting classes and just really have found my passion.
That's wonderful. So you kind of alluded to it, but what is your favorite medium?
My favorite medium is fiber. However, as I have a minor in art, undergrad, and my master in art, and I've done watercolor, acrylics, printmaking, sculpture, and teaching in a public school, you just use all those mediums. And I sort of discovered fiber as a form of art after I quit teaching.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So then when did your interest in art begin? I mean, both for your fiber art and just in general.
I was like, that was my thing as a kid. I remember doing, and probably they're not even there anymore, but in the backs of magazines, there was always this thing where you could draw it and send it in, and they wanted you to go to art school. And I can remember sending them in often, and they always said, you know, stay with us, but you're too young. I think they couldn't charge a kid. So I've always been that kid that was like always drawing or painting or playing with something crafty. My fiber art, however, started after I retired from teaching. I just, took some classes, attended some national quilt shows, took classes from some fabulous teachers, and just sort of found my niche.
That's awesome. So who or what inspires you?
I work with nature a lot. I am a volunteer at the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy here at Arcadia Dunes and at the Marsh. And so I'm out in nature a lot. And I always have my camera with me and I'm always taking pictures. And now when I put pictures on Facebook, I get people who say, oh, that's going to be an art quilt soon. There's just so many things in nature that I feel like I just need to create.
So is there any one thing that you're drawn to more when you're taking pictures? I mean, is it man-made? Is it natural? Is it?
Yeah, lots of natural old things. I love old buildings. I think that's probably my second to nature, but I love all of the wildlife. I think the blue herons are just so used to me when I'm coming through with my camera, they stop and pose. And so I collect all these pictures that I use then for material to do artwork with.
Perfect. So we have a series of, regular questions, and then we've got a series of out-of-the-box questions. So This is one of our out-of-the-box questions. If your artwork were to be classified as a musical genre, what genre would it be?
I thought about this question, thinking, what would it be? And I'm like, I know that music is in the arts, but I cannot put a genre to it because I was the one, I don't own a CD, not one music CD. I was the one that was told to mouth the words at First Communion. I was ruining it for everyone. So I can't answer that question because there isn't a place that I would put it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all right. So then you've kind of already done it, but just give us a verbal snapshot of your current work.
Oh, right. What now I'm working on, I'm an Island Batik ambassador, and I am currently working on a red panda, which is an endangered species. Every month we get an assignment along with materials from the industry to create a quilted project or a fiber project. And I've been assigned the red panda, and I'm working on an art quilt with thread painting with Aurifil thread and Island Batik fabrics for my October challenge.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that idea of a different one every month.
Yeah.
So if you could use the shades and tones of just one color in your artwork for the next 3 years, what color would that be?
Oh, it'd have to be blue. I just love blues, and there's just so many different shades and colors, and they take on the purples and the greens. And so even though I might be limited to just blue, it could still be a broad spectrum.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what is your favorite tool in your art toolkit?
I have my rotary cutter, I think, because that's where you start to get into the fabrics and cut, cut, cut. And that allows you the expression that you're going to use with those.
Perfect. So then do you have multiple sizes or gauges, or
Yeah, I
I
do.
don't know too much about them, but
I have some dinky ones, and then I have some that are just for paper. And but I have my trusty. I don't know what I'd do if I ever lost it.
perfect. So then what's your least favorite tool?
Anything that involves hand sewing. And I have a whole multitude. I won't even tell you how many sewing machines I have, from the vintage heirloom featherweight Singer that I learned to sew on years and years and years ago, up to the computerized long arm machine. And I think there's very, very little that requires hand sewing.
Which is good. I take it. So what is the best piece of advice you've been given?
I think it is not to compare yourself to others. Like, to, you're you, whatever you do is your work, and you should never say, oh, I'll never be this good, or I'll never be able to do that, because maybe you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing what you enjoy doing. So not comparing.
I think that's a great bit of advice, especially, in today's society, with you're constantly inundated with social media posts and, Facebook and Instagram and, all these incredible things that other people are doing, and that you constantly feel like you're, I guess, measuring, yourself up to
Yes.
all these other people and projects you see. So do you prefer to work solo or in collaboration with others?
I enjoy my little nest. I've taken over the whole upper portion of our house, and this is I'm very social, and I love to go out, but I also love my time alone. So definitely by myself.
Yeah, that's what I would assume as well. So again, another one of our out of the box questions. Which famous artist would make a good president of the United States?
I hope that there's never a president that's an artist, because that is such an intensive, multifaceted job, that I think it would be like the poor art teacher who was teaching and never had time to do what made them happy. Well, not that teaching didn't make me happy, but I would hate for someone to be so encompassed, any artist, to never have time to be the creative person that they are.
Mhm. I think that's a great take on it, because I think that's very true. I think, especially artists that make on a daily basis, not being able to potentially for 4 years,
Yeah.
seems like it would be a pretty long, excruciating dry spell.
Yeah, yeah. And it may be a feeling of guilt if you took time away from the business of the country or
True.
the nation, just to be, doing what made you happy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, so what is your favorite meal?
uh, Anything that's I was a home ec teacher, so that was my undergrad major, and I'm probably the only home ec teacher that says if it takes longer to make than it does to eat, it's not worth it. So my favorite meal is anything that's easy.
Okay. I like that adage. I'm one of the few people that does not like Thanksgiving. I think it's silly to spend all day in the kitchen for 30 minutes of a meal that you're going to be eating for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. And there are places that you can order it out.
oh,
You know,
I know. I've realized that in the last couple of years.
last year we did that. We ordered out our whole meal. We just went and picked it up, and it was done. It was wonderful.
Oh yeah. No dishes and oh yeah. Perfect. So what type of art or which artists hang on the walls in your home?
I have some fiber art from some other fiber artists that I have enjoyed, but mostly it's travel. My husband and I, when our kids were home, we traveled extensively. And my favorite thing is to buy something from a local artist. And if I can find them like by a canal somewhere creating their art, that's even better. But we have just lots of things that we've just brought home from somewhere else. And it just, reminds you of the time that you were there.
Oh, sure. And it's, way better than a t-shirt or a coffee mug.
Yeah, exactly.
So what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh gosh, I think that that's another one that I just didn't write anything down on, thinking I would be inspired when we got to that question. Maybe taking time for yourself, making sure that no matter what's going on in the world, you're going to be a better wife, a better mother, a better grandmother. If you take some time for yourself and to do what makes you happy, then your happiness can maybe be shed on the rest of the family and friends as well.
Mhm. I think that's a great approach to take, and would completely agree with that. So if you could time travel to make art for a week, what date or time period would you choose?
I would choose right now. Just what I'm happiest when something inspires me, like right in the moment. And I can look back at some of the other things that I did and they made me happy. But I don't think I ever want to go back to that. I think part of the creative process is just continue to move forward. My life motto is to be a lifelong learner. And so I just want to continue to learn.
That's awesome. Um, so let's see. Okay, so when you sit down to create, is there anything that you have to
Yeah.
make your art?
I absolutely have to have books on tape. I love literature. I love reading. I don't sit down long enough to read a book, but I can have books with me, and I belong to two audiobook groups. One's a freebie from the library, another one's one that I pay for. And I just like if I get to the end of the month and I think I've used them all up, I sort of panic. I enjoy like going in another world. Now, sometimes when I'm working on a computerized machine or if I'm trying to do something I need to turn it off just so I can get back in the groove of what I'm supposed to be working on. But for the most part, I'm just off in another land.
Do you have a specific genre or subject that you like on your audiobooks?
I love thrillers and mysteries, and but I also like comedy and yeah, whatever.
So is there a gallery or museum that you would love to have your work featured in? And if so, which one?
I would, well, I should say that I enjoy having my things at the Oliver Art Center. That's always special. But I would love to have something at the National Quilt Museum in Paducah or the International Quilt Museum in Lincoln, Nebraska. That would be just a total blow me away honor.
So where's the furthest you've shown?
I've had things at the Texas Quilt Show, which is always it's coming up. It's always the end of October. I've had several things there. I've had things in the Wisconsin Quilt Expo and all of the AQS shows. Paducah is their main place, and but I've been to Des Moines and Daytona and just about all of the places that they show.
Oh, that's wonderful. So then do you travel to each of those places, or is this kind of a you pop it in the mail and
Yeah, most of them are a pop it in the mail. I've been to a lot of quilt shows. I teach for AQS. So I've been to a lot of different locations for them, which is always fun because you know, you get to, I love teaching because you get to see that pop of, oh, I get it. I can do this from your students, but you also get to network with a lot of other quilters, which is always inspiring.
oh yeah, definitely being around like-minded individuals and talking shop, I think is
Yeah,
very assertive.
exactly.
So then how do you know when a work is finished?
The binding stage is always the last stage when I'm ready to stitch the binding on. That's always the final thing. Sometimes that goes on very quickly. Like sometimes I leave deadlines. You know, like there's a national quilt show coming up that has a deadline, and I'm like really scurrying. Sometimes it's a deadline for Island Boutiques, but most times I just get the idea. Okay, it's done. I'm finished, and I don't see anything else you can do to this. So.
Okay. And so finally, where can we find your work currently?
I do have an Etsy shop. It's just in my name, Sally Manke. I also have a website that you can purchase things from as well, which is again just Sally Manke. But if you put fiber art with that, then it'll always pop up in Google. So I have a lot of things for sale there, and in various shows. Some of them offer it for sale, and those are just kind of come and go as the shows progress.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to bring up about your beautiful fiber art that we maybe didn't touch on or?
No, I just I don't think so. I think that you know, using the fiber art just adds that texture and color, and just you can present with it everything you can in a regular painting.
Mhm. I agree. I agree with that. And I think that you are, you know, a fantastic representative of taking what was traditionally a craft, a very traditional
Mhm.
homespun craft, and turning it into more of a fine art. And so I think you do that exceptionally well. And I'm really happy that you took the time to talk with us today. And so I just want to say thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing your next couple pieces. And
Okay, sounds good.
yeah, thanks again, Sally.
Thanks, Mercedes.